Homesteads and Homeschools is part of the Liberty Hippie Podcast Network. If you like what we do, be sure to check out This Week in Liberpods. Peace Freaks, Cannabis Heals Me, and Free Markets Green Earth. We're living proof that libertarian doesn't mean washed up Republican.
What up? Welcome to Homesteads and Homeschools. I'm your host, the Liberty Hippie, here with you for another week. This is the 95th episode, which means you can find today's show notes at homesteadsandhomeschools.com/095. And so what do I have queued up for you lot today? I have a fantastic little episode talking about some different kinds of livestocks. Yes, I said livestocks because I can. That's why. So yeah, we're talking about mini livestock today. Different types out there, different varieties. I've been seeing them a lot, hearing people talk about them. I've not got any myself, but they're out there, and I was curious. And if you're someone on a smaller lot and you want to get some animals for meat, for milk, for whatever, these guys might be up your alley. So check it out, give it a listen. And let's go plant those seeds of liberty with my guest, Mr. Bryan.
I love the sky and the trees. I'm a teeny tiny little ant, checking out this and that. And I am nothing. So you have nothing to hide. Pacifist.
All right, so my guest today is Bryan. Bryan knows a few things about small animals, probably more than a few things, and we're gonna get into that and I don't know, see what he's got going on where he is. So Bryan, thank you for coming on and giving us your time.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I love talking, especially about stuff I actually know anything about. So.
Yeah, I know. It's I talk about lots of things, but when I actually know what I'm talking about, it's like that's so much better. But so I don't know. You're on a little farm, big farm now, some sort of farm. Were you always kind of in that lifestyle, or was it something you kind of came into as an adult, or how did that go for you?
I think it started in foster care. I was in foster care for a touch as a kid, and I got stuck on a farm. And it's just really cathartic in the morning to be able to get up and, feed animals and see other animals enjoying life without having to go to school or pay taxes. And
yeah, it is when you can find the time to get out there and do it. And that's the problem like I run into now is trying to find the time to actually get out there and get some of those things done and not have it turn into a stressful event of I have to get this done and freaking out because I don't have time. I don't know. So you did that. Was it something that like stuck with you, or was it just kind of this idea in the back of your head that you wanted to get into?
It stuck with me a little bit. I mean, as an adult, I started looking at it from a standpoint of I don't like the food coming from the grocery stores. I've seen a few of the documentaries, whether they're skewed or not. It's, Animals should be treated humanely, especially at death. So if I can provide a better life for them, I figured why not, and then when I started working as a chef, seeing the difference in beef and how it was treated from, our lowest provider versus, me getting high-end Kobe in at work, you can really tell a difference. So I started working at that myself, and you can definitely tell a difference.
Yeah, I think you can. Personally, I think you can. I think some people might tell you otherwise, but even like you said with the documentaries, like even if they are skewed, there's some truth to it. There's some truth in there. And you just think about the chickens getting put on a truck and like driven all over the place just to get butchered. Yeah. I mean, that alone in itself is stressful. And what does that do for the meat? I think the more you stress an animal out, the tougher the meat is, and you can keep it all kind of in-house. It makes it a little bit better. So you I know we were talking earlier. You're kind of on a farm now.
Yeah, about 20 acres.
Okay. And what do you guys, so how did that come in? Where did you guys pick that up, or how'd you get there?
Oh, like I said, we kind of lucked out. It was her father's original farm. Her father moved the family out to their grandparents when their grandparents passed, and they got there. I think it's like 50 something acres. And this house kind of sat just abandoned for a few years, and we were paying rent. And I'm like, why pay rent when I can put that money into fixing up a house? And,
Yeah.
it's living in the middle of a town, even in a small town like Findlay, Ohio, where we were at. I mean, there was every night, people breaking into houses or just general, for lack of a better term, dumbassery going on the streets. And
So how long you guys been where you are?
oh, I'd say going on 5 years now.
Okay, good deal. How much how much work have you had to put into kind of getting things back up to snuff there?
Not as much as I want to, honestly. It's been a process where we kind of sit down and we say, okay, these are our little projects, and then this is our big spring project, this is our big summer project, this is our big fall project.
Yeah.
There's always something on a farm, but I mean, it's definitely come a long way from just overgrown wild bamboo to fenced in pasture field, and changing the inlay of the barn to make it so we have a birthing room like we're doing now, so we don't have to worry about animals popping out in the middle of the winter in the pasture field.
Yep. I what's where we're at now, trying to figure out how to do that so we don't have little goats dropping out in the middle of the field. Winter's a little different down here in Georgia than you, but
I was just saying, ours like to wait until there's 6 inches of snow and it's -5.
yeah. So. No, we don't get that. But so how did you get it to go from like wild bamboo back to pasture? Is that just kind of mow it, plow it, plant it, or is there a process, or how does that work?
It was really just, we got it fenced in, and we started with one of our neighbors was getting rid of goats and sheep, and they're like, hey, do you guys want these? And they were moving and didn't want to deal with them anymore, so we took them. And they're not kidding when they say goats will eat just about everything in the tin can. Like, what they didn't eat, the goats would knock over, or the sheep would knock over. Sorry, because they're a bit more clumsy than the goats.
Yeah. That is a true statement. Goats will eat just about anything. I was out trying to put together a little structure in the goat pasture, and I had a box of screws, and they got in there and started like chewing on the screws. And to pull it out of their mouth. I'm like, it's not edible, and if you eat this, you will die. So please don't do that. Yeah, it's wild what they do. So you just let them kind of knock it all down and eat it. Yeah,
and I kind of, the little research I did on goats, they can eat pretty much everything. There's a few plants, trees, if they get into, will make them sick and or kill them. So I kind of just watched, and the stuff they didn't touch, I pulled out myself. Just this past summer, me and the wife's father went in and put winter rye in the field to see if it would grow. So far, it has not. It has in the pasture field, but I'm just kind of adding stuff as I see. I'm moving out. I started with about an acre fenced in. I think I'm at 4.5, 5 acres now.
Okay.
So I would love to have all 20 acres fenced in, but I don't think the wife would be happy with that. So
it gets expensive. That's like,
it really does.
You don't realize it, I think, until you actually like start putting it in. It's time consuming, but it's not too bad. But like all those posts, all that fence, it starts to add up. Because I think we're kind of in the same boat where, we've got a couple pastures and we'd like to put more in. But man, financially, it's kind of, I don't know. How do you pull it off sometimes? But so when you planted the winter rye there, did you guys kind of plow it in, or do you just sprinkle it on top, or I'm curious how much like working the pasture you've done, or you.
I know till, so we have a seed spike. Just There's a few documentaries on it I had watched, the research I had done. I get Successful Farmer. It's a little magazine, and they had an article in there about it. And, you don't get as much yield,
Mm-hmm.
but you get a better pasture field. I mean, it's more natural. It's what I shoot for. There's something always blooming or always going to seed in my field. And I don't have to worm, but maybe once or twice a year. And that's generally when I get new animals, just to make sure everyone's okay. I've been cutting down on feed costs because of it. And I really think that's one of the side effects of it, is because I'm letting them eat more naturally how they would have.
Yeah. Yeah. Gonna have to, we keep trying to figure out our pasture. Cause it's grass. It's not bad, but, I know nothing about my types of grass and what it is.
Yeah.
I just know it's green. It grows. There's a lot of it, and the animals will eat it. So, but it's crazy. You put the goats in with like in a woods, because we have woods in part of the pasture, and just they're starting to. There's that graze line, like 4 feet above the ground, where everything underneath it is just gone.
Strip bare.
Yeah, it's wild. So it's kind of neat to look at. It's one of those things where it's totally not natural. It is kind of pretty. So what do you have in your pastures? What kind of animals do you have?
Currently we have we'll start animal to animal. I have baby doll sheep and Texas doll Corsican sheep, which aren't miniatures. They're a hair sheep, which means I don't have to shear them every year. I sell the males of those to hunters, because they have the huge racks. I mean, it grows curled, kind of like when you think of a wild bighorn sheep.
Mm-hmm.
They almost look like that. They make really nice pelts, and it's a nice way to offset the cost of the fence, because depending on the horns and who I talk to and whether or not they have to drive pretty far, because I try to make deals. I can make a couple $100 off an animal after all of my costs for feeding it for a year plus.
Wow, it's impressive. It's just the horns, huh? Fetches.
Yeah, I mean, they're a solid animal. They have a really nice mane. You can get some good meat off of them, and it's a nice hunt for the people that do like to hunt. I also sell them to people who want their own to start raising, because you can mix those in with hair sheep, who tend to be a little bit sweeter meat.
Okay.
And you don't have to shave as often.
Do you have to shave hair sheep?
No. They naturally shed. It's a really ugly process, honestly. It's kind of bald patches here and there in the summer, but
yeah. When we before we got goats, it was kind of a toss up if we wanted to do sheep or goats. I wanted to do sheep, but we ended up with goats. But that was one of the things, was looking at the hair sheep, because you don't have to shave them. Like, you're not going to get a whole lot of money for wool at this point anyway. And so I don't know. And it's weird, because all my life, I grew up thinking like woolly sheep, and then there's these hair sheep that you don't have to do that with. And I don't know. Why did you like get into the baby doll sheep? How did that come?
Those were actually given to me by the same people that had the goats. They were getting out of them. The male was neutered, so you couldn't really sell him. He wasn't. Mm-hmm. You can eat a baby doll sheep. You're not going to get a lot off of it. They're more pasture pets. They look pretty. They're adorable. And then the female is pigeon-toed on her back legs. So I've never bred her, because I'm worried it would get stuck. So they just kind of stick around. They're adorable. They complain all day until they get their hay, and then follow us along the fence. But
how big are they? How much do they weigh? Do you know?
They're both fat. I would probably say they should be around 60 pounds, so probably closer to 80 now.
All right, so like a mid to plus size dog there. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do people typically use them for? Just as like pasture pets, or do people eat them and milk them, or what?
Yeah, they're you can't milk them. Well, you can milk them. I wouldn't recommend it. It seems like it would be a tedious process. They've got short legs. They're low on the ground. I don't think you would get a lot of milk off of them. I've never done it, but that would just be my experience from the actual build of the animal. Yeah, they're really just kind of, they look pretty. They're adorable. They've got these big stout faces as opposed to their tiny little
Mhm.
legs, and
All right.
you can shave them and get. I've seen brown and tan, and it's a nice color wool. If you're cleaning it yourself and carding it yourself, I mean, you could probably make good money off socks or scarves or
Interesting.
whatever. But
What about so you got mini sheep? Do you have mini goats?
yes, I have Nigerian dwarfs and pygmies. I've got a mini fainter. That's my newest addition. She's like a silver blue, and she's funniest goat in the world. Hates being touched at all, but if the minute you walk away, she starts screaming for you. She's like a cat. She wants attention,
Yeah.
but on her schedule.
Interesting. So, what I guess what's the difference between a pygmy and a Nigerian dwarf? Like, what is pygmy just a different size? Is it actual specific breed?
Yeah, pygmies are their own breed as opposed to Nigerian dwarfs. Nigerian dwarfs are a milk breed. They make a real sweet milk. It's really nice, whereas pygmies are more of a pet animal.
Okay. Are they smaller than the dwarf goats, the Nigerian dwarf?
My Nigerians are bigger,
Okay.
but I those aren't papered, so they're not really
Yeah.
to standard as some people go by. I have papered animals. I don't really follow the ADGA or anything like that. I prefer health over specific looks on animals.
Yeah.
So
For sure. I hear that.
I've had some of them butchered before because I'm a sucker and name them, so it's hard for me to butcher the goats. Uh, it's really nice meat. It's better than any goat meat you get from a store generally, only because I feel like a lot of them are raised the same way as cows and chickens, where they're packed into feedlots, and
Yeah.
it's just not a good meat.
I think our goats, we started with like 3 meat goats, brush goats. I don't know what you want to call them. And then we got some dairy goats. And the plan is to, maybe keep a couple does and then maybe butcher the males, but I'm not sure we're actually going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I always said I was going to, and then they do something stupid, and you fall in love with them. And
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't have a problem. Like, I mean, we do chickens, and I used to do rabbits, and it was never fun. It was never something you looked forward to. But it just seemed like it was just part of the routine. This is like the process. This is the end goal. This is why they're here. But with the bigger animals, I feel like because they're around for longer, and maybe there's less of them that you actually get to know them a little bit, and it's like, oh man, sorry guy, but time to go. It's difficult.
yeah, and I've had family members who farmed, and they would never step foot in a pasture field unless there was someone with difficulty birthing or to pull an animal out, so they never even got one-on-one time with some of their animals.
Right.
And they, it's way easier for them. But me, hands-on every day, I 20 or less animals. You get to know each one. They have a personality, so it is harder. That's why I have sent them off in the past. I don't think anyone truly enjoys butchering,
No.
but it is part of life. It's
Yeah.
it's natural.
Yeah, it is, and it's part of what if you want to get that meat on your plate, part of what has to happen. But so you got the mini sheep, mini goats. What else? What else you got over there?
I've currently got a mini zebu cow, and as of 2 days ago, I've finally, after having her for almost a year, figured out her heat schedule. So I'm hoping in the spring to breed her.
Okay. Oh, which what are the zebus? Are they the ones with the big hangy necks and
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I thought I was under the impression that mini animals, there wasn't a whole lot of breeds of mini varieties. Am I right in that, or is it kind of, if you look hard enough, you can find a mini in any breed, any variety, or what?
I'm seeing more and more. I think as people are moving out of cities and wanting to do it with their own hands, uh, and the kind of the pet craze is going on is finally hitting farm animals. I mean, it started with Labradoodles, and
Right.
now you've got all these little, people. Everyone wants a Highlander cow because they're fuzzy, and then they got so. I'm seeing mini jerseys. I've seen. I don't know if it's a registered breed yet. I've seen miniature Holsteins. The Zebu are naturally on the smaller side. Now they
Okay.
have a mini version of that too. So I think it's one of those things as the demand calls for it, we're seeing more and more people working the smaller breeds because it used to be if you had a small cow, that was a problem.
Right.
Now everyone wants that cow.
So is it just like, do you know, is it just like a selective breeding down? You take your small animals and you work with that, or are they introducing some other, pre-existing small variety into the bigger animals? Do you have any idea?
I think it's a little bit of both from what I'm seeing. From what I'm reading, it's you take your smallest bull and breed them to your biggest female. It makes an easier birth
Right.
naturally in mammals. You end up with a smaller animal, and just so on and so forth. You keep working at that. I do think, like, I had the option. There are several artificial insemination companies, and that's one of the questions they ask for is, do you want a smaller animal? And so they offer their smaller bulls.
Interesting. That's crazy. That you think about that like 50 years ago, right? It was smaller animals you would think would be like a deterrent. There's less of an animal there if I'm going to spend the time doing it.
Oh yeah, the run of the litter was the last one to go, even 20 years ago, and now, But as people move out and they can only get an acre of land, you know, you, you can't support an animal on that
Right.
healthfully. So
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Do you know, are they more prone to like health problems and stuff? Because usually, like your smaller animals tend to be weaker and not as, I don't know, vibrant as your other ones.
I haven't noticed it. They're not less healthy, but I have noticed with the smaller animals when something goes wrong, they go down quick.
Okay.
So it's not a matter of them being healthy, but when they do get sick, it goes quicker. At least in my opinion over the years of what I've done. So.
Yeah. No, I'm just curious there. That's the worst part. Like I hate worming our goats and stuff because we not really on a schedule. I know some people will just like blanket worm everything, but down here that's what people have done for so long. And there are so many, like ivermectin is like virtually useless and all your other stuff. And it's, the worms aren't that, they get bad. So
yeah. And I've tried to do the different things. I'm actually pagan and I have pagan family members. And so the natural, processes, a lot of them get pushed on me. Some of them I found have worked. People swear by pumpkin every year.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't worm often. And when I do, I try to find other things because the parasite load is getting really bad in some places.
Yep.
And like you said, that ivermectin's useless. They've adjusted to it. It doesn't affect them.
Yep. Yeah. We just actually threw a couple pumpkins in there. Have you found that it works? The pumpkin and other sort of some of the natural remedy type things?
I mean, when I do butcher, especially with my birds, I don't see a lot of parasites. Now, it could just be I lucked out and my 20 acres has very little parasites on it.
Mm-hmm.
But from my personal experience, it does.
Okay. It's interesting. We'll have to try to get some more of that. I can't grow pumpkins down here, unfortunately. All those winter squash they're hard to do, man. Summer just beats crap out of them.
Yeah.
What else do you have any other like natural remedies that are out there that you're aware of?
Licorice, I've always been told, is one
Really?
that works really well. Even in humans, it helps stomachs and really any stomach issue.
I don't know if I want to share that with my animals.
Yeah. The flavor is a deterrent for most humans and some animals. My sheep won't touch it. I have plants out there. Yeah, I've got wild licorice.
Oh,
They won't touch
they're
it.
missing out, man. Oh, all right. So you got I know you got your mini pigs too. And you mentioned that you were gonna, I don't know, trying to get rid of them, looking to get rid of them. Is that what you were saying? Or
Yeah, with everything going on, it's considered a miniature pig.
all right, so we're still talking
Uh,
like a big animal. I mean, like
yeah, I have American guinea hogs and a couple of Julians. They're considered the micro breeds. My American guinea hog mixes are under 125 pounds, and that's after they ate. So, it's a nice roaster pig. It's not something you're going to have a four wheeler and a 50-gallon drum to clean.
Okay, and that's what I was gonna ask. So I mean, there's no other reason to raise a pig other than meat. So that's what they're there for.
Yeah, I've a little byproduct of them is people have. I haven't done it yet. Is you can pen them in and leave them there for about 6 months, spring, summer, fall, and they will root up anything in the area, kill the ground, or not the ground, the grass, and poop there. And then you move it, and next spring, that's a real nice area to garden in. It's already been tilled.
Yeah, that's what we've heard, and we've kind of batted that idea around where our soil is like concrete down here in some places, and wondering how pigs would do on that if they could tear it up a little bit to the point where we could amend it a little easier than anything else. But
The western end of our property backs up to a creek,
mhm.
and we get about 8 to 12 inches down of really nice soil, and then it's clay. You're not getting a shovel into it. It's game over.
Yep,
They have no problem working that though.
may have to try that. I don't know. All right, and I, when you butcher like a smaller animal like that, right? These mini animals, what's the meat to bone ratio like? Is it the same as you would find in a normal sized animal? Because I feel like they still have to have that bone structure to stand up and survive.
Yeah, I mean, you get a good amount of meat.
Yeah.
You're not getting commercial breed, unless you have a really spectacular specimen. Uh, but I feel like we're so conditioned to expect hundreds and hundreds of pounds because that's what we've been breeding for, and that's okay.
Mhm.
But if I butcher 2 pigs, I'm set for the winter. Honestly, it's they take longer. They do fatten up. In 6 months, you could have a Holstein steer at eight 800 to 1,000 pounds, whereas your Jersey steer is only going to be 400 or 500 pounds. But you wait a year and a half, and that Jersey steer is going to be roughly the same size, and you're going to get a better quality meat. So it's really depending on if you can justify the costs, if you can offset them, you're going to get a better quality meat. You're going to get less of it, but that's okay because I've found when I did butcher Holsteins when I had them, I was losing meat because I couldn't eat it in time. It would get frostbitten, and it would go to the dogs or whatever. It was never really lost. But I don't like butchering something and not eating it myself. I feel like it's a waste.
No, I hear you there. We that's why we pretty much eat everything, and even when we're butchering the chickens and stuff, all that leftover gets put in a big crock pot that gets cooked down for the dogs. It's a crock pot of death, and it's pretty gross at times, but the dogs love it, and it helps supplement some of that feed. So, any I don't know, any suggestions for people that are thinking about, I don't know, giving mini animals a try? So I feel like how much space do you need if you just want like I don't know, a small handful of goats, right? Some Nigerian dwarf goats or something. How much space do they really need?
If you have a big backyard and a cul-de-sac, as long as it's not sprayed with chemicals, you can have a goat or two. Obviously, the more space you have, the less damage they're going to do because if they're penned up, they do. I mean, they're energetic animals. They want to move around. They want to play. They love to chew on stuff. I had an old wooden fence on part of my barn, and they chew on that just for the roughage, I think. So
Yeah.
if you have an acre, you can do the smaller goats. You don't want to do just one goat. They're definitely a pack animal, but two or three, a couple wethers and a female, easily on an acre. That's
Yeah. All right. Very cool. Yeah, my goats. I don't even know. We had an electric poultry net up, and one of them like chewed through the electrified poultry net. Like they just don't. They're just, I don't even know, man. they eat anything and everything. They chew on everything and anything, and it's just insane. All right, man.
and it's I fully recommend the metal fencing. I've had some problems with it, but it's the one thing that consistently has kept them in.
The woven
So,
wire.
yeah.
How is it with their heads getting stuck in the wire? I know our goats, we have regular size goats, and so sometimes they'll shove their heads through to get the grass on the other side, and then when they try to pull it back through, their horns get caught and they can get stuck. Now our dairy goats, we just butted them when they were younger, so they don't have the horns. But I wonder with the smaller animals, is their head small enough that they can kind of get in and out? They still get stuck on the lower tiers of the fence, or
Some of them do. It all depends, honestly. I've got a few where the horns kind of swoop straight back across the head, so it's not a problem with them. They figured out, because the fencing I bought has long rectangular holes, that they can turn their head sideways and get it in and out. Some of the dumber ones still haven't figured that out.
yeah,
That's an issue of genetics. So I try to trim a solid 12 inches away. The goats have done that for me already, but in a few places I've had to pull out plants or whatever. We have mulberry trees everywhere here, so it's one of those things where it's almost a nuisance where we have to pull them.
oh man,
So that kind of dissuades that, but it's not too bad. It really isn't. They every once in a while I'll get home late at night and I'll hear screaming from one side of the pasture field and they're just stuck.
yep.
But other than that, especially if you don't have horns, if they've been disbudded, there's no problem. They can turn their head sideways eventually and figure it out.
That's what we've found so far. But then at the same time, like, yeah, that's what we've done, and we may do that in the future with the new goats that we have. Have to think about it because we have a couple Pyrenees out there with them, so it's the predator thing is not really an issue. But
no, we've got a rescue Pyrenees, and we've had a coyote issue once, and she almost ripped the fence and the posts out of the ground, running through it. Since then, I mean, we hear them, but they don't come nearby. She's and we got her for free, but they're definitely worth their weight in gold. They really are, as long as and you don't even really have to train most of them. It's so naturally ingrained in them to just herd.
Yeah, there's it's pretty impressive what they can do for sure. Well, all right, man. I don't want to keep you too long. Anything we didn't get to? Any thoughts you want to share that we didn't get to?
I know they're not technically mini animals, but I highly recommend alpacas. They have been one of the few things that I absolutely love. They're ugly adorable, especially as babies. It's just all legs and eyes. But
what do you use them for?
I shave them. I send the wool out. There's a couple of different companies. There's actually one pretty close to me here in Ohio. They clean it and card it and send it back spun for me. It sells well because it's basically waterproof when done right. It makes really, really nice socks. We donate them every once in a while. When we have our county fair, we try to get out there and donate some of them to the FFA auctions and stuff like that.
That's very cool. Very cool. Do they work like llamas in the sense that like llamas that can be used as a guardian animal, or alpacas? Can they do the same thing? Or are they too small?
I wouldn't want to go up against a coyote if I was an alpaca. They really don't have that many defenses. Right. I don't have to worry too much. There's a few predators around here, but they're really nice in the sense that they're the most quiet, the cleanest animal, and one of the most friendly. I have one that walks up to the fence, and she has to every morning get her ear scratched and behind her head before anything else can happen. So they're a little more expensive up front,
Right.
but I've found that they're just, honestly, if you want something to look out into the pasture field and enjoy, that's the animal I go with now.
All right, man. Well, I don't know, any place we can go to find you online or anything like that? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, shameless plug. I'm actually wearing the hat now. I don't know if you can see it. I have Bent Horn Farms. It's our Facebook page. I will try to send you a link to it afterwards, just so you can.
I'll
see
find
yourself.
it. I'll find it. Put that in the show notes. Can you get like your wool on there? The alpaca wool?
I didn't do any this year. Unfortunately, every single one of my alpacas decided that the briar patch was where they were going to sleep at. So it kind of got wasted this year. I'm planning on it next year along like my fainer. She's a silky. I'm going to see if I can't get that shaved and spun.
Very cool. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no, thank you. I love talking. So
I'll put that link to your farm there in the show notes. Is there any place else? Just on Facebook?
nope, that's it right now. I'm working on a web page, but so far Facebook's been good to me. So
Right on. I appreciate you. Have a good one.
yep, you too.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I enjoyed it. Hopefully, Bryan enjoyed that as well. Yeah, I'm not really that interested in mini animals at this point. I have enough going on that I don't really want to diversify any more. Have enough, and as good enough. But if you are looking to get into something that might fit your homestead, mini animals are definitely something there, and I encourage you guys to go check that out. Go check it out, especially if you're on a smaller lot, more of a suburban lot or something. This might be just what you needed. Might skip through some of the ordinances, some of the zoning. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. Anyway, go check it out. And while you're at it, go check out Bryan's farm on the Facebook there. I'll put those links in the show notes that you can find again at homesteadsandhomeschools.com/095. Go leave a review on iTunes. Tell me what you had for breakfast. Was it oatmeal? Was it cereal? Do you fast? What do you do? What do you do? Let me know. And of course, homesteadsandhomeschools.com/Amazon. Click through the little fancy link there and buy your garbage, and I'll get a small kickback from that. And why not? If you are so inclined, you can go over to patreon.com/libertyhippie and help me out there. Whatever you see fit. Guess that's really all for today. Hope you guys are enjoying fall, winter, and gearing up for Thanksgiving. I know I have some birds that need butchering, so that's what I will be doing. Hope you guys enjoy it. I won't be enjoying the butchering, but I will be enjoying the meat to come. All right, guys, get out there, sow those seeds of liberty. We can all reap sheaves of freedom together.
I'm gonna ride us his dream. I'm gonna ride us his dream.